Now, I have to be very transparent and say that I'm recording this audio on the night of Friday, November 8th. So, if there is a trade, if there is some sort of a call-up or any big developments that occur over the next few days, then yeah, it's gonna be a little bit outdated because this video is gonna be published on YouTube on Monday, I think. Today we're going over to the Edmonton Oilers and talking about their defense, because it's been no secret that ever since the departures of Philip Broberg, Cody Ceci, and the like, the team kind of needs some support when it comes to building up that blue line. You've got Mattias Ekholm, you've got Darnell Nurse, you've got Evan Bouchard, and quite frankly, I feel like a lot of fans have been talking about Nurse in a much more positive way than Bouchard the past few games, especially when you take a look at some of the other statistics rather than just straight-up power play time. With all things considered, though, Evan Bouchard, Nurse, these guys, they've had their jobs cut out for them, and with other guys rotating around the bottom of the D-core, you've got the Travis Dermotts of the world, the Ty Embersons, the Troy Stetchers, and even more. There certainly are some things that you can say need to be improved about that blue line. No disrespect, of course, to the other guys that have been floating around the bottom, and not to mention a player like Brett Kulak, for example, but the team has kind of needed some defense for a while, and it's why they've been linked to many trade rumors revolving around D-men. So, in this video, what I wanted to do was talk about one of the bigger ones. It was talked about on different podcasts as well as indicated on written articles, so without further ado, let's dive into it. We're going over to a video segment on the Oilers Nation Twitter account that goes over a podcast clip talking about Buffalo Sabres defenseman Henri Jokiharju. This was from November 7th, and I wanted to leave a link in the description if you wanted to go ahead and listen to it yourself. But to help us out, we're going over to an article published by Ryan Hall on Oilers Daily that transcribes a lot of the comments and the ideas from this video. Oilers reporter predicts a trade for Sabres' prominent right-handed defenseman. During a recent episode of Oilers Nation Every Day, host Tyler Yakemchuk predicted that Stan Bowman may take a swing at pending UFA Henri Jokiharju to help shore up his D-core. Henri? Not too sure, honestly. It's Finnish. Jokiharju, though, is pretty easy. Not gonna lie. Now, part of the reason Jokiharju is being discussed in general is because of what happened recently with the Buffalo Sabres, where he and Mattias Samuelsson were both scratched. Healthy scratched, by the way. This led to a bunch of conversations about whether or not some of these guys could be on the move, and Frank Seravalli went out there and spoke out about how the Sabres are open for business in his opinion, and how Jokiharju could very well be a part of that. So, if Tyler Yakemchuk on the Oilers Nation show is talking about this player, and it's apparent that he actually could be on the move, let's dive into the profile here, shall we? Henri Jokiharju is 25 years old, 6 feet 201 right-handed guy signed on to the end of this season, making $3.1 million. He is listed as a speedster, a two-way D-man, and a guy who, as a former first-round pick in 2017, scored himself 20 points in 74 games played last year. It was a career high in terms of points in a season, not a career high in terms of points per game, but this year he has only got 3 points in 12 games played, on pace for about 20 as well. However, he did miss out on a few games already in a healthy scratch capacity. There was an entire thing about why the Buffalo Sabres scratched Jokiharju. Lindy Ruff said, I want those two guys, Jokiharju and Samuelsson, to raise their standard of play. I need their standard to be a lot higher. And so, going back over to the initial video clip, it was talked about by the Oilers folks on the podcast that if you retain 50%, this actually could be a pretty good deal for the Edmonton Oilers. And of course, I mean, 50% of $31 million, that would be 15.1, so $1.55 million a year. That's a really good cap hit for a guy like Jokiharju, who provides a lot of mobility and some pretty alright defensive play, but ultimately it depends on if the Buffalo Sabres would be willing to do a trade at that price. I get it, the guy's contract is expiring at the end of this season, so maybe the Sabres don't really have any reason to hold back on some sort of a salary retention kind of deal. They say, okay, great, we can just cut him off, we'll hold some money, you can save some money, we get some better assets because if we retain salary, it's easier for you, and everybody's happy, right? If Jokiharju gets a better role in Edmonton, then I think there's more motivation for him probably to continue growing and progressing his game. I mean, he's only 25 years old. It's not like he's at the peak of his career just yet, I would say. And also, I would also think that There's an argument to be made, oh, the guy can't even crack the Buffalo Sabres decor. How bad must he be? That's pretty misleading. They do have some pretty solid defensemen over there in Buffalo. I'd say that Byram, Power, and Dahlin are each probably better than everybody else in the top 4 of the Oilers. So, Darnell Nurse? Yeah, I'd probably have Power than Nurse. I'd probably have Dahlin than Nurse. And I'd probably have Bowen Byram than Nurse too. It gets a little bit difficult when you try to compare these guys to Ekholm and Bouchard, but still, Jokiharju is better than what you have in Troy Stecher. He is better than what you have in Ty Emberson, most likely. And if he's given an opportunity to play for a team that's already supposed to be a cup-contending team, who knows how much he's going to be able to step his game up. Sometimes these defenders can really just do that. They play into the moment. They feed into the pressure and the expectations that are set around them. Not saying that Buffalo has zero expectations, but I think a lot of people were projecting Edmonton to be much more of a cup contender than Buffalo this season. Another idea that is brought up in the article on OilersDaily.com is the fact that the Sabres and the Oilers have already made some trades, even, pretty recently. Last year, they traded Ryan McLeod along with Tyler Tullio to Buffalo in exchange for top prospect Matthew Savoy, a trade that I still think is pretty ridiculous for what assets were being swapped. I mean, Matthew Savoy, what a great player. But with this in mind, the article also talks about how, because there was a trade, the dialogue is possible, and the Oilers would certainly be interested as the team feels the defense has become a major concern after several pundits in the NHL felt it was not. The team had changed their decor rather dramatically after removing former Oilers defenseman Cody Ceci, and they have not received the return in play with Ty Emberson and Stecher. Yakemchuk also feels that it would only cost either a second or a third to make this deal happen, which the Oilers do possess their own picks for the next 3 years. It's safe to say that Bowman will be continued to look through the league to find the deal that makes sense, but adding this player certainly would help their blue line. So, I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below if you're an Oilers fan. How do you feel about the idea of Jokiharju getting added onto your squad? If you are a Buffalo Sabres fan, what are your thoughts on any sort of a trade with Edmonton? What kind of assets would you want for this dude? You're already doing pretty okay with your blue line, I'd say, in Buffalo. I don't think that Jokiharju is the most necessary piece right now if you wanted to focus on building your team. At the same time, though, he is young enough where you could say that there is some value in holding on to him for the next few years. And also, of course, I mean, the offense, as long as that continues to grow slowly, as it has been, slowly but steadily, then maybe there is a little bit more to show for with Jokiharju in the Buffalo Sabres organization. It's just, I guess, with some of the developments of him getting scratched and Saravelli even saying that this could indicate that some of these guys are available on the market, it does get me intrigued as to what the Edmonton Oilers could potentially view this as in terms of building their own team and trying to capitalize on these trade opportunities. So if you're an Oilers fan, a Sabres fan, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Jokiharju getting traded over to the Oil. Is this possible? Is this not? What kind of return do you think is reasonable? And what's the dollar amount that you think gets it done for Edmonton? Is it a flat 50? Is it maybe 75% salary? Is it 80% salary? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.